The winner is John Wayne in True Blood.
John Wayne. Just the name sparks a vision. A lone figure on horseback, silhouetted against a burning western sky. He was more than a movie star, he was a symbol, a towering force of rugged masculinity, American grit, and individualism. For decades, he ruled the box office and embodied the American spirit. But when the legend died in 1979, the world expected a king's fortune to be passed down, a grand Hollywood inheritance that matched his monumental fame. What came next shocked everyone. A surprisingly small estate, a wife cut out completely, children divided by money and bitterness, and a secret empire, more powerful than anyone knew, that would continue to grow long after the Duke's death. This is the real story of John Wayne, his rise, his wealth, his mistakes, and the stunning legacy he left behind. Before he became a towering figure of American cinema, he was just Marion Robert Morrison, a lanky kid born on May 26, 1907, in the quiet town of Winterset, Iowa. His early years were far from glamorous. His father, Clyde Morrison, was a pharmacist whose fortunes often shifted, and his mother, Mary, kept the family grounded with her iron will and deep faith. Times were hard, and the Morrisons struggled to make ends meet. When Marion was still a boy, the family uprooted and headed west to Glendale, California. The move would quietly shape his destiny. In Glendale, life was modest but offered new opportunities. Marion quickly stood out, not for acting, but for his athleticism and discipline. Towering over his classmates with a commanding presence even as a teen, he was known for his sportsmanship, his quiet confidence, and most of all, his inseparable bond with his dog. That dog, a big Airedale Terrier named Duke, walked him to school every day and waited for him outside the classroom. Locals began calling the pair Big Duke and Little Duke, a nickname that Marion embraced with pride. He preferred it to Marion, which he felt was too soft for the kind of man he wanted to be. The nickname would follow him for the rest of his life, eventually becoming more recognizable than his given name. Young Duke was a powerhouse on the football field. He attended Glendale High School, where he became a star athlete and a natural leader. His impressive performance earned him a football scholarship to the University of Southern California, a rare achievement at the time. He dreamed of gridiron glory, and perhaps a future far removed from the financial struggles of his upbringing. But fate had other plans. A body surfing accident at Newport Beach injured him severely, ending his football career overnight. That loss could have crushed him, but instead, it opened the door to Hollywood. A job as a prop boy at Fox Studios was just the beginning. Unbeknownst to him, the awkward kid from Iowa was on a path to become the face of American cinema, under a new name, and with the strength of the Duke spirit already burning inside him. In high school, Duke became a football star, earning a scholarship to USC. A bright future in athletics seemed certain, until one brutal game injury shattered his dreams. Most would have been crushed, but Duke wasn't most people. Instead of giving up, he pivoted. A former football coach landed him a humble job at Fox Film Corporation, moving props, running errands. He even appeared in silent films as an extra. Then came a fateful encounter with director John Ford, a friendship that would shape his future. Ford saw something in the towering young man, and before long, so did the rest of the world. In 1930, director Raoul Walsh gave him a new name, one that would become legendary, John Wayne. His first major role in The Big Trail was ambitious but ahead of its time. Most theaters couldn't show it in widescreen format, and the movie flopped. The big break fizzled, but Wayne didn't quit. Over the next decade, he churned out countless low-budget westerns. They weren't glamorous, but they were his training ground. Slowly, he sculpted his on-screen persona, upright, fearless, commanding. And when John Ford cast him in Stagecoach in 1939, the transformation was complete. Wayne became a household name. The Ringo Kid had arrived, and so had the Duke. From that point on, John Wayne didn't just appear in movies, he dominated them. His presence on screen became larger than life. With his broad shoulders, deliberate gait, and deep, unshakable voice, Wayne wasn't merely portraying characters. He was becoming a symbol of American resilience, honor, and rugged individualism. Over a career that spanned 5 decades, he starred in more than 170 films, crafting roles that would leave a lasting imprint on the psyche of a nation. Wayne became the go-to figure for stoic heroes. Westerns were his bread and butter. Films like Red River, Rio Bravo, El Dorado, and The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance transformed the cowboy archetype from silent loner to moral compass. But it wasn't just Westerns. In war epics like Flying Tigers, The Longest Day, and They Were Expendable, Wayne embodied the determined American soldier, giving courage a face during times of national uncertainty. His role in Sands of Iwo Jima, 1949, was a turning point. Playing the battle-hardened Marine Sergeant Stryker, Wayne delivered a performance that was both fierce and emotionally raw, earning him his first Academy Award nomination. The role shocked critics who had previously dismissed him as a one-dimensional cowboy. Suddenly, John Wayne was being recognized not just for his stature, but for his skill. Then came The Searchers, 1956, directed by his longtime collaborator and friend, John Ford. In it, Wayne portrayed Ethan Edwards, a haunted Civil War veteran on a relentless quest. The character was morally complex, obsessive, angry, even dangerous, and Wayne portrayed him with a vulnerability that was rare for the genre. Many critics and filmmakers, including Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg, consider The Searchers one of the greatest films ever made, and Ethan Edwards one of cinema's most complicated antiheroes. But it was True Grit, 1969, that brought Wayne his long-overdue Oscar. As Rooster Cogburn, the grizzled, whiskey-soaked U.S. Marshal with an eye patch and a bad attitude, Wayne played against type while still capturing the rugged essence fans loved. It was a performance filled with humor, pathos, and bite, and it cemented his place not just as a box office giant, but as a truly gifted actor. John Wayne had become more than a star. He was an American legend written in celluloid and steel. But John Wayne wasn't just a movie star. He was an empire builder. He founded Batjack Productions to control his films and increase profits. He bought vast properties, including a ranch in Arizona and a sprawling mansion in Newport Beach. He vacationed aboard a converted Navy minesweeper, the Wild Goose. His image was colossal, and so everyone believed was his wealth. Behind the scenes, Wayne's financial journey was far more complicated. Despite his star status, he made catastrophic money mistakes. In the 1950s, he trusted business manager Bo Roos, who persuaded him to invest in a shady Panama deal. Turned out to be a scam, costing Wayne over $1.7 million. Then came a second betrayal from within. He handed financial control to his son-in-law, Donald LaCava, who only made matters worse. Debts piled up. At one point, the Duke couldn't even pay a Saks Fifth Avenue bill. It was a wake-up call. Wayne took charge of his own finances, learning the ropes the hard way. He began making smarter choices, rebuilding his wealth one deal at a time. Those hard lessons would become the foundation of the real empire he left behind, not just for himself, but for his children and grandchildren. Wayne's physical strength was legendary, but few knew the private health battles he faced. While filming The Conqueror in 1956, he and the cast were unknowingly exposed to radioactive fallout from nearby nuclear test sites. In the years that followed, an alarming number of those involved developed cancer, Wayne among them. In 1964, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. One lung and several ribs were removed. But in true Duke fashion, he fought back and kept working. Years later, he was struck again, this time by stomach cancer. Despite the pain, he pushed on, turning his final role in The Shootist into a haunting reflection of his own mortality. In it, he played a dying gunslinger, a goodbye both on screen and off. He passed away on June 11, 1979, at the age of 72. The Duke was gone, and America mourned the loss of its greatest cowboy. Flags flew at half-staff. Tributes poured in from presidents, military leaders, and fellow actors. Fans flooded theaters to rewatch his classics. Felt like the end of an era, not just for cinema, but for a certain idea of America that John Wayne embodied. Everyone believed he had died a wealthy man. After all, he had starred in blockbuster after blockbuster, owned production companies, luxurious homes, land, and a yacht. The general consensus? Wayne's estate had to be worth at least $50 million, if not more. But when the will was unsealed, the shock was seismic. The estate, after nearly 50 years of superstardom, was valued at just under $7 million. Respectable for most, but almost embarrassingly low for the man seen as a Hollywood titan. Questions swirled. Where had the money gone? The answer lay in a mix of financial missteps, mismanagement, and the costly consequences of blind trust. Wayne had suffered massive investment losses in the 1950s after being duped into a shady overseas deal. His generous spirit and tendency to rely on family and friends for financial management had backfired. At one point, he couldn't even pay a $3,500 department store bill. His wealth had slipped through the cracks, just like that desert sand he so often rode through on screen. But the true drama lay within the will itself. Wayne's third wife, Pilar Palit, with whom he had 3 children and shared over 2 decades of marriage, was completely cut out. Though they had been separated, they never legally divorced. Still, the will left her nothing. The media erupted with headlines, "Pilar snubbed, Duke's final blow." And for Wayne's children, the surprises kept coming. Their inheritances were based on a strange formula, $5,000 times their age minus 21. It seemed more mathematical than emotional. One of the most brutal clauses specifically barred Wayne's son-in-law, Donald LaCava, from receiving even a penny. Not now, not ever. Not even if his wife, Wayne's daughter, passed away. The message was loud and clear. Trust had been broken, and the Duke never forgot. What should have been a tribute to a family legacy had instead opened the door to conflict, suspicion, and a storm that would rage for decades. His wife of over 20 years, Pilar Palit, was cut out entirely. Despite never divorcing, they had been estranged for years. The will honored an earlier legal agreement. She got nothing. Then came the strange inheritance formula. Each of his 7 children received $5,000 multiplied by their age minus 21. Michael, his oldest, received $115,000. Ethan, just 17 at the time, got far less. This formula sparked resentment, drawing a line between his older children from his first marriage and the younger ones from his third. Even more jarring was a clause targeting his son-in-law, Donald LaCava. The will explicitly stated that LaCava was to receive nothing, not even if his wife, Wayne's daughter, passed away. Her share was to bypass him completely. The bitterness was undeniable. The will was less a farewell letter and more a legal battlefield, igniting years of internal strife. Family members began to clash, not just over money, but over control of the Duke's legacy. For decades, Wayne's personal belongings, his costumes, props, even his driver's license, remained sealed away. But in 2011, his son Ethan led a bold decision to auction them. Over 700 items went up for sale, including the beret from the Green Berets, his Golden Globe, and the eye patch from True Grit. The auction was a sensation. Fans paid fortunes to own a piece of their hero. His beret alone sold for $179,000. His last driver's license, $89,000. In total, the event raised over $5 million, more than most estates ever earn. It was more than nostalgia. It was a revelation. The Duke's real treasure wasn't in bank accounts. It was in his myth. That realization sparked a new era. Ethan Wayne spearheaded John Wayne Enterprises, turning his father's name into a global brand. From Duke Spirits bourbon to grilling gear, books, and apparel, the Duke was back, in every form imaginable. A museum exhibit opened in Fort Worth. A licensing battle even erupted with Duke University over the rights to the name Duke. The company's mission was clear: protect the brand, preserve the values, and profit wisely. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The tensions embedded in the will never truly faded. In 2010, Isa Wayne, John's daughter, along with several of his grandchildren, sued Ethan over the valuation of the company. They claimed John Wayne Enterprises was worth over $15 million, not the $10 million Ethan reported. They wanted to be bought out at a fair price. What should have been a private matter exploded into a public courtroom brawl. The very business meant to unify the family became the source of deep division. Brothers and sisters faced off in legal combat, echoing the kind of drama Wayne might have starred in. But this time, it was all too real. Yet amid the legal fights and brand deals, something remarkable endured: John Wayne's heart. Before his death, he expressed one final wish: that his name be used to help others. And so, the John Wayne Cancer Foundation was born. Run by his children, the foundation has raised millions for cancer research and awareness. Its programs have trained surgeons, educated youth, and supported families in their darkest hours. For all the drama, this more than bourbon or memorabilia is the truest expression of the Duke's legacy. John Wayne's story is one of triumph, failure, pride, and redemption. He built himself from a quiet boy named Marion into a global icon. He made and lost fortunes, suffered betrayal and illness, and yet kept riding forward. His name still sells. His image still inspires. His family, fractured though it may be, continues to build on the foundation he left behind. But his real wealth, it wasn't measured in dollars. It was in the values he stood for: strength, grit, loyalty, and the courage to keep going no matter what. And that's why, long after the curtain closed, the Duke still rides on. If this story of John Wayne's rise, fall, and lasting legacy moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We've got more incredible behind-the-scenes tales coming your way, only here, where legends live on.